limiting. I remember like one July 4th I had when I first moved out to Rock Springs, Wyoming, and I remember calling my mom and crying because I was like, I'm all by myself. I mean, I had just moved there, so I didn't know anybody, and I was all, sad about it or whatever. And then I started to realize as I've gotten older that I am my own best friend. Like, I'm not alone necessarily. Like, I obviously crave getting to be around other people and friends and family and all that, but just because I'm by myself doesn't really mean that I'm lonely or alone.
Welcome, Medora, to the Travel Through Trauma podcast. We're so excited to have you. You are one of our newest volunteers to the team, providing such valuable financial expertise to our clients. And I know you've changed their lives already. And I'm so excited to see how many more lives we're going to be able to impact through our curriculum. So Medora West is a life sciences risk management consultant. Did I get that right?
Yeah, it just rolls right off the tongue. Yeah.
Yeah. And the co-founder of Making Sense Consulting, which is one of our partners at Travel Through Trauma. So I have known you for the better part of 12, 13 plus years.
Yeah.
And we started off as roommates over the summer, and we've grown so close over the last decade, and I'm so grateful for our friendship. And even though I know a lot about you, I still feel like there's so much I don't know about you because we don't live near each other. I have visited your home in St. Louis. It gave me a lot of perspective about what like smaller cities in the United States are like growing up there, but I really want to hear your perspective. Like, what was it like growing up there, and what were your experiences like as you lived in different parts of the country for work or for school, and how that might have affected your worldview?
Yeah. Okay. So born and raised in St. Louis. So I am a Cardinals fan. I used to be a Rams fan and then they left. So I don't know. But yeah, that was great. I mean, very steady childhood, was able to get involved in like all the extracurricular activities I was interested in. And I think now looking back, I'm very privileged, but I also had more diversity, I think, in my background than I realized until I started traveling more throughout the US. So that was really interesting. And then after leaving St. Louis, I went to college at University of Central Missouri, which is in Warrensburg, Missouri. It was like in the middle of farmland, which is really cool. At the time, I really liked it. I still like it, And I played collegiate softball there, and I got to just see a lot of different perspectives. I don't think anything really opens your eyes as much as like when you first step out of your high school and you're in college and you're like, there's a lot of different perspectives. So that was really interesting. And then I was recruited out of college to go work at Wamsutter, Wyoming, which is a giant change for me. And it was cool. It was kind of intimidating, but I was really excited about it. And then met my husband, and then we moved across the country to Georgia, lived in Ringgold, Georgia, and then we're planning to move back to Salt Lake City, Utah now. That's like kind of it. And then in between, I had those internships. I had my first internship in Ventura, California. Very different
Yeah.
relation than what I was used to. I mean, like the whole thing was just different. I had never been like that immersed in the West Coast before. So that was cool. And then obviously the next summer I was in Slow and got to meet you. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Man, you've lived
it's been
in so
wild.
many different places, like more than most people I know. You've lived in like a lot of different states, and you had a lot of those kinds of like true, authentic, like blue collar type cultures that a lot of us on the West Coast are not exposed to, which I find really fascinating.
Yeah, I think I didn't realize that like my first summer internship out of college, I was working on like construction oil fields, and that was just it was an eye-opening experience. It was amazing. I learned a lot of hard things. I met a lot of tough people, but I also met a lot of kind people, and I think that really helped shape me as I got older. Just people are really nice. Some people are not, but a lot of people are really nice. So, and they want to help you, and it's important to be able to ask for help too, and to be willing to give help when people are asking for it. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've seen how many people you have mentored, not only through your day job, but also like through this consulting work that you're doing with making sense. I think it's like really going to show how much of a leader you've become in your space because of these experiences. Even though they're hard, even though as especially as women in like these kinds of industries, it must be so challenging, such an uphill battle.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I knew what I was getting into, right? Like when you're the one of the only women in your college courses, it's kind of like, and they're actively recruiting you to be in the degree you're in because you are a woman. It's usually telling. And then to be one of, I think I was the only woman other than an office manager at the first place that I worked at that during that summer internship. So
Hmm.
that was interesting, but
What was it about your upbringing that even led you to make those initial decisions about what you were going to study, where you were going to live? Was this something
yeah.
maybe one of your parents mentioned or how they lived their lifestyle?
Yeah, so my dad he's now a retired chemical engineer. And so I think I always had some level of process interest, but I'm also not that smart in terms of like mathematics. I can figure out mathematics, but I'm not super, I'm not a wizard at it. And it's the same thing with like chemistry. I'm not a super wizard. I can learn all those things, but I'm not like great at them. So I think ended up being health and safety ended up being a natural fit for me. I originally thought I wanted to be a nurse, did a job shadow at a hospital, and quickly realized that I have a ton of respect for nurses and they work so hard, and I am not interested in doing that. But I had already gone to this UCM, University of Central Missouri, had on a visit, and they had mentioned if I wasn't interested in nursing, here are the other things, and they said health and safety. And so I asked while I was doing the job shadow, I said like, "Do you have a health and safety department? Would it be possible for me to job shadow the head EHS person?" And they were like, "Yeah." So I got hooked up with him and then did a whole bunch of stuff. I was like, this is more my speed. Like they
Mm,
were planning for like the big incidents, like having a chemical spill at one of the places my dad worked. And like, how do you take in that many evacuees and how do you prepare your employees at the hospital? And all of that was just stuff I never really thought about. And so that's how health and safety happened for me. I
my
had
gosh.
a little bit of that predisposure and then just kept on going. So
Man, what an introduction though, like right out of college to go into such a rigorous field like health and safety. I feel like I didn't even really understand what that was until I met you. Like, you find out about jobs that exist that are so important, but usually tend to be kind of in the background or more regulatory focused. So that's
yeah,
some tough work.
everybody needs an EHS person. It's crazy. I always like it, even in like movies when you're looking at the credits, you can always see the
Yeah,
EHS persons in there. So, oh, and that stands for environmental health and safety. I probably should have put that in for the viewers. I
it's
say it all the
implicit.
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
nobody knows
yeah.
what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So
So,
you mentioned that like moving from Missouri to other states like Wyoming, for example, was really eye-opening for you. What were some of the things that you really got to experience for the first time that were shocking or different than what you expected?
so things that were different. Wyomingites are very independent and they are very self-reliant. So it was really cool. Like, I mean, anybody you met, like they knew how to fix their own stuff. They knew like what was going on with their house. They knew what was going on with their car, or their truck, or whatever. If I had any type of issue, everybody was always like really willing to pitch in, like very kind. So that was very cool. Not that Missouri's not, it's just that they had like a technical level that like Missourians, they're nice, but I would say Wyomingites are really helpful.
Mm,
So they might not be like super super warm, but they will always help you. So I always thought that was really cool. They watch out for each other. And yeah, so that was, and it was also these probably like one of the smallest areas I'd ever lived in. So I definitely got, used to that. So
that must have been
that was
such a culture
different.
shock to go somewhere so rural like that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, just like it's things like, even having like opportunities for different hospitals or maybe like different medical care providers, you really start to notice that in areas like that where you're like, oh, okay, you just don't have like a lot of options. And a lot of the people are, great at what they do, but it's them that's great at
Yeah,
what they do. So,
they're,
and if you want
they're the
anything
only
else,
options.
yeah, and if you want anything else, you got to be willing to drive 2 to 3 hours. So, which
I
is
know. I think we forget how privileged we are when we live in
the
bigger, more
convenience.
resourced. Yeah, the
Yeah.
convenience, and even I even notice when I travel through those regions, finding a grocery store that has like more variety of foods, or even a grocery store, period. I mean, you really have to sometimes go out of your way. And sometimes it's just Walmart. Like sometimes that's the only option within 10 to 20 miles. So I think that tends to be very mind boggling for me.
Yeah.
Whereas here in Los Angeles, I could go 4 blocks in any direction and hit a grocery store, at least one grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I lived in one area that we were excited to get the Walmart because they didn't have anything like that. And otherwise, you're driving like 2 to 3 hours to be able to get to like a Costco or Sam's Club or something where you can buy, your meat in bulk and all of that. So, yeah, I was
Yeah.
definitely appreciate the conveniences, definitely appreciate walkability of things. But yeah, so it was a great experience. I learned so much, and I really found that as long as I was just willing to learn, people are willing to let you. So
Yeah, breaking
that
down
was
those
good.
barriers. It's so surprising to me and very impressive as well, just how well traveled you are, in spite of kind of being exposed to these kinds of regions your whole life and growing up in, the South, or I guess, I don't know if Missouri is really
We're the
considered the
Midwest.
South.
Yeah, we're not the South.
Midwest, yeah, but
Yeah.
even Georgia, like having been in Georgia for as long as you have been, I guess almost what, 10 years or maybe a little less, but
Yeah, we're going on, yeah, 10 years in the fall.
yeah. What was it that like really sparked your curiosity for world travel? Was it your parents? Did you guys go on trips growing up?
Yeah, we always went on a lot of car trips, and I thought that was really cool. And then I just always wanted to see more. And so I think I just always had like a natural curiosity and just wanted to get out and see the world. I watched a lot of Animal Planet when I was growing up, so like a lot of Steve Irwin
Yeah.
and the crocodile hunting stuff. And so I always like wanted to go to places like, to me, like Australia. And now like I get older, I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be a really long flight. But
Yeah.
at the time, I'm like, it's just right around. Look, he's on my TV. He's really close. So I think I was always curious. But my dad always put a lot of work into like the type of, like, we went to a lot of national parks as a kid. I had hiked the Grand Canyon twice before going into high school. And so like we had experiences like that, and he really took a lot of time to put that sort of stuff together. And then I just wanted more, because I feel like, what else is a kid going to do when they're already given opportunities? They just want more things. So
Yeah. What
yeah,
was your first international trip?
we did a bunch of cruises, so I guess that's technically international. And so that would be like Mexico, Belize, like the standards. And then my first big one was my graduation present. Very lucky graduation present. We did like a cruise and a flight we did Spain and Italy. Like we really went all out, and so that was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You had
So
so much exposure. What were like, in spite of all these exposures that your parents made sure that you had, like, what were some of the still like underlying self-limiting beliefs or fears or insecurities that you felt were really consuming for you growing up?
I think it would, I mean, a lot of it's just like fear of the unknown, right? Like you don't know how you're going to be received. You don't know if you're going to be in a dangerous situation. You don't have contacts necessarily. So those were always kind of limiting. I remember like one July 4th I had when I first moved out to Rock Springs, Wyoming, and I remember calling my mom and crying because I was like, I'm all by myself. I mean, I had just moved there, so I didn't know anybody, and I was all, sad about it or whatever. And then I started to realize as I've gotten older that I am my own best friend. Like, I'm not alone necessarily. Like, I obviously crave getting to be around other people and friends and family and all that, but just because I'm by myself doesn't really mean that I'm lonely or alone. And so once I got past that, like, it doesn't bother me to be with myself. I don't,
Yeah.
it's not a big deal if I'm doing a lot of traveling by myself, because like I know how I am. So,
Yeah, exactly. And you
but
can
that
keep
was,
keep your own company. I think that's such an important distinction that people don't often understand, in my experience, is the difference between loneliness and aloneness. And they are not the same. You might experience them at the same time sometimes, but they are very, very different experiences in themselves. When do you think you finally like had that moment of clarity where you understood like being alone is not the same thing as being lonely?
I think it was probably towards the end of being in Wyoming, right around like just before like committing to my now husband or, dating him. And I was like, I'm actually pretty happy. I could do all the things on my own. Like I'm able to, make my own food, and like I have things that I look forward to by myself, and that type of thing. So it was probably pretty early on, and it doesn't bother, then it stopped bothering me. But yeah, that was definitely a limiting belief of like being alone will mean that I'm lonely, or being alone will mean that like I don't have anybody. And especially now that I've moved so many times, and obviously it's a testament for you and I of like the friendships that stick, the people in your life that stick are there for a reason. They'll be there no matter the distance. So,
Yeah, and it's sometimes the unexpected ones I've noticed too, like maybe people we meet randomly and we're not sure if we're going to keep in touch, but then we do, and over the years we just get like closer and closer. And I think in my 20s, if I had that perspective of like being open to whoever shows up in my life as being a potential lifelong friend, rather than like putting pressure on certain people to like show up a certain way. I think that would have given me a lot of more of a relaxed approach in my relationships earlier on.
yeah, no, it is. It's nice. The people that are going to show up will show up for you, and they'll do it time and time again. And it doesn't really matter how
No matter the
close
distance.
distance. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, I think that has definitely been helpful, especially like as we look to move again. It's like, that's fine because the friendships that I have here, like the ones that are going to stick, they'll stick no matter what. The ones that don't, it shouldn't be based on distance necessarily. So,
Yeah, exactly. And it just becomes clearer the older we get, like who's meant to be in our circle and who's not, and who's going to be there for the hard times.
yeah.
So, like going back to just travel as being a really core self development tool, what were some of the experiences you had while traveling abroad or even across the country that you felt offered you really invaluable life lessons that you couldn't have gained otherwise? Like whether it was a travel you did maybe in response to a really challenging moment in your life or just one that you did randomly for work, for example.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be my first technical, like, full day at BP. I ended up getting stranded in the Denver airport, not even an area that I live in. Got stranded in the Denver airport, had to stay the night. There was some other person, some other guy that got stranded too. And I think anybody that travels can relate to like probably the crappiest part about traveling by yourself is having to take your bags to the bathroom with you. Golly,
Oh,
man, do I hate that.
oh,
Yeah, anytime I travel with people, like other people, I'm just like, man, thank goodness. I love not having to take that bag with me.
somebody can watch your bags.
Yeah. So ended up like never met this person before, and were able to be travel buddies through that exciting time. But that was really stressful for me. That was like the first time that I was like, I'm really on my own. I'm a very timely person. So this is high stress for me because I could not believe I was going to be so late. And nobody else was having this issue because no one was coming from nearly as remote of an area as I was. So everybody else is there. So that was like a definitive moment. And I stayed the night in the airport, and it was great because that was probably the worst thing that could have happened. And I survived it. It was fine. So after that, like nothing else really gets that bad, other than having to get on a plane and then deplane. I don't like that very much. But yeah, so that was probably like the worst moment. I don't think traveling abroad I've ever really had bad moments. I think like the most unsafe I've ever felt was probably actually in New Orleans, just one night
Really?
walking through a neighborhood. Yeah. And it wasn't even like in like on Bourbon Street or anything like that. I was like just outside of it, and that was probably like the unsafest I've ever felt in any situation I've ever had. So that was pretty good. I think I'll take it.
Do you feel like those experiences just really being challenged in your core values of like timeliness, did it influence the weight that that value has in your life at all? Like, have you become more lax at all about
No,
timeliness or
now I arrive 2 days ahead of time. So that's
that's
how
so
I
funny.
learned. Yeah, because I don't like to be late. I think time is such a value, it's so valuable to so many people. And when you don't, like when you're stepping on somebody's time, I couldn't think of a worse like way to diss somebody. Because I mean, money is one thing, and like maybe not saying the right thing is one thing, but it's like time you just can't get any of that stuff back. So no, what I did learn was I just need to leave 2 days ahead of time if I'm concerned about missing my flight or getting stranded
Yeah.
again. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I totally
I
get
still
that
do
though. Time
that.
is the most precious commodity we have. Like that
Yeah.
is the only currency that we will never get back in our lives.
Yeah. So I'm like, if it means that I have to like go out an extra night and like I'm gonna be forced to go find another Thai place to eat at, then like I guess I'll do it. I'll take the
Yeah,
sacrifice.
yeah. I would love to even talk about like your international travels. Like I know you went to Bolivia and Thailand and Mexico and so many other places. Like
Yeah.
and some of those you went with your family, some of them I imagine like you traveled there alone. So I would love to even know like the experiences of stepping outside your comfort zone in a place that has a language barrier to go explore something like dinosaur footprints. Like what were some of those like moments where you had like realizations about your life, your own capability, your goals and dreams? Did any of those even feed into your desire to create Making Sense Consulting?
Yeah, so I guess well, not my most recent, my second most recent international trip was to Bolivia. And it was because that had always been, I wanted to go see the dinosaur footprints up the quarry wall. That was like my big thing. And my dad was actually available to go. So it was like once in a lifetime trip for me. Flights went on sale on going. Like we booked it, we went, and it was awesome. I had traveled to Peru a few years before, and I had spent a ton of time trying to like beef up my Spanish. And then the entire time we were in Peru, everybody wanted to practice their English. And so I just figured that that's just how it would be when we went to Bolivia. It was not. I really had to like pull from the depths with some of my Spanish, but I did find that and it's so funny because like I think in America we're really hard on immigrants, especially if immigrants don't speak English very well. And I mean, you just go travel and it's the same thing. Like, there will be people that if you are trying, they will try with you. Like, they will put the effort forth. And then there's other people that are like, you didn't bother to learn the language. I'm not going to waste my time talking to you. And that's totally fine too. But yeah, so Bolivia was challenging because I really didn't, I should have beefed up a lot more on my Spanish and I did not. But everybody that I tried with was really receptive. I would say, like in Costa Rica, we had a few moments where I was trying my Spanish and there was one person in particular that just didn't have the time for me. They weren't going to try and meet me halfway. It was just a no. So that's always funny. I always the language barrier thing is like the people that want to understand you, they will just figure out a way. And it's the same thing here. Like if I'm working around or working with anybody that English isn't their first language, like we will get somewhere with like hand signals or Google Translate or something, but it's
Exactly.
because I want to put the effort forth. It's not just because I'm so good at understanding languages or whatever. But that's always,
Yeah.
I love that. You can always tell people that have traveled a lot because they will always try to understand another person because they know what it's like.
Yeah, it's that empathy when you go to a place where you can't speak the language and you're feeling a bit stranded or lost. Like just being able to show up with that compassion towards somebody is so important. Because I, even like you said, like we have really strange expectations of immigrants who come here
They
and
come into
expect
the
them to like,
culture. Why don't they know the language? It's like, what you
exactly.
do all summer?
Yeah,
You went somewhere on vacation for a week, you didn't bother to learn anything.
exactly. Or even a month, you still don't know how
Yeah,
to say hello or thank you
wild.
or goodbye. What do you expect others to do? It's
Yeah.
it's really unrealistic. At least props to you for trying, because that, especially in those countries, like it's not always well received. Props to you for even
Yeah.
like putting in the effort.
I tell Josh my gravestone will just say she tried. Like
Yeah,
there's a lot of things that I will try and I will try with any of that. So yeah. In terms of
yeah,
financial counseling though, travel has given me a lot of passion around travel hacking, not always needing like I have a lot of different like tricks and things for us to be able to afford like going on the trips that we want to go on, even if we can't necessarily afford it out of pocket at the time. So that's given me like a lot of ideas that I try to pass those on to other travel nerds as much as I can. It's also been amazing because we are so privileged in the US for the amount of financial opportunities we have compared to other countries. Like the ability to just start a business if you want. And like we have federal support systems for people trying to start a small business, or the stock market. And like our stock market is pretty, self-explanatory there. It's pretty stable. And that's just not the case with all countries, being able to access our money whenever we want to. Bolivia, that was a big concern. I remember we were just about to head out and the tour company that we were with was like, you'll just want to go ahead and probably convert when you get in with us because our ATMs go up and down. Like sometimes they're on and sometimes they're not. And then we had a driver and he was really upset one day, and it was because his card got caught in the ATM and it wouldn't give it back, and so he had no access to anything. So just really grateful for being able to have those abilities. Just so privileged compared to a lot of other countries.
Yeah, I think that's a big realization I've had while traveling is the entrepreneurial opportunities for Americans that don't exist anywhere else. Like you can't just create an idea out of thin air and start marketing it and do like, a GoFundMe in other countries and expect it to really stick or to
Yeah.
really blow up into anything. And whereas here with the power of all the resources that we have at our disposal, not only like through governments, but through social media, through networking, through other companies that are able to amplify. It's just a lot easier to become successful with the right tools, but also makes life really challenging its own way, like very unaffordable. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that you're
Well,
like able to impart that wisdom.
that was another thing that I was going to talk about too. I mean, like the amount of countries that we can go visit, but for citizens of those countries, like sometimes that's just not even a feasible idea. Like even being able to afford the plane ticket just is not even like they're just not going to be able to afford that. We're just so fortunate to be able to do that. I can't tell you the number of countries that I've been to that, I mean, I think everybody would like to travel to. I mean, the US has so many geographic differences throughout the entire country, and it's very unique in that way, but it is so expensive to get out. And so that's always really interesting too, where you're just like, man, really lucky to be able to get to see so many things. And it's just not the
Yeah.
case for everybody.
Do you think it was some of these experiences you had, understanding the value of our dollar and the opportunities that we have in America, that made you want to be more into like financial coaching and giving that kind of wisdom to others?
Yeah, I think I just want people to feel more empowered and educated that like just because there was always one way of doing things doesn't mean that that's the only way, and that if you're creative you can problem solve a lot of different financial issues just with using different strategies. And like credit card rewards, like we're normally taught in the US to be like very scared of credit cards, and it's like if you can maintain not having a balance on a credit card, they are an incredibly powerful tool, especially for traveling. So I find that really interesting. And then, I mean, we've got so many search engines now that can help us find cheaper flights or whatever. There's a lot available to us, but not everybody knows it. And a lot of the time it's like how your parents did it. Like, oh, well, we always just packed up the car and we went to the same like lake house or the same place. And there's nothing wrong with that, but like, how are you going to know all the different ways that you can travel internationally if you wanted to, or what else is
Exactly.
available?
Yeah,
So,
nobody's taught you that. So how do you figure that out on your own? I
yeah.
think one of the biggest frustrations for me is when people tell me that they can't afford to travel abroad. And it drives me crazy because I think exactly to your point, you have to understand where to go, what to search for, how to utilize your credit card points, or even just how to minimize your spending in other areas and be able to like budget for an
Yeah.
upcoming trip that you're passionate about going to. So I think these are like exactly the kinds of tools that show like the intersection of financial wellness and being able to achieve your goals, including travel. And I think most people just will never get exposed to that. Or if
Yeah.
they are, they still feel like it doesn't apply to them.
Right. Yeah. Or like I'm going overseas, I have to stay at the particular hotel chain that I'm familiar with in the US. And it's like if you got a bed and breakfast and just like booked it through the actual bed and breakfast and,
Yeah.
did all the things, like it'd be so much cheaper. But until you've done it. And to be fair, a lot of that comes from trial and error too. made a lot of travel mistakes that I've looked back and I'm like, why did I spend that much money on it? But I didn't know at the time.
Oh my God, same. I used to like try to plan out my trips. Like if I were to travel for a month, I would plan out every day which hostel I'm staying out, how I'm getting there, which flights to book. Now I realize I keep wasting money because plans will change or I'll miss
Hmm.
something or maybe I'll want to stay somewhere longer. So just pay as you go, you know?
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
to try to budget ahead of time and then use that as like a guiding force for where to go and how to spend. But I think
Yeah,
that can be really,
exactly.
really hard for people. Yeah, and it's a privilege too to be able to even talk about having a budget when most people are just surviving, just trying to like put food on the table with that month's or that week's paycheck.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We do like a safety, so like having an emergency fund and then like a save. So that's when you start like actually trying to save towards your goals. And I always tell the story of like we have to budget for vacation because my husband like actually requires it because I am such a miserable person to be around if I don't know when like my next trip is going to be. And so, like, even today we were talking, and I was like, I don't know if we'll be able to make it to Hawaii this year. He's like, we'll make it. You got $1,000 voucher. Oh, yeah, I should say that travel hack. If you are traveling and you don't have like actual strict like timelines, like I travel for work. And so sometimes like I just have to get to point B. It doesn't have to be like within a certain time. Take the freaking travel voucher, folks. I got $1,000 Alaskan Airlines voucher, and that's going to pay for most of our,
Amazing.
yeah, and it's going to pay for most of our flights to Hawaii. Just do it. Anyway.
It's like turning lemons into lemonade type of
Yeah,
situation.
I was
Just say
like,
yes.
well, yeah, they originally said it was like, oh, we'll do it for 550, and I was like, you know what? That's not worth 550 to me. But it turns out that I do have a worth, and it's $1,000, and
Hell
I will
yeah.
change my travel plans for that. So I got in later, and it kind of sucked, sort of, but I was by myself, so who cares? It's not like, you know, what was I gonna do? Complain to myself.
Yeah,
So it was great.
exactly. So if you were to like impart wisdom for somebody who is looking to travel but doesn't know where to begin with like paying for their trip, like how would you lay it out for them so that they have a plan to actually be able to afford XYZ trip of their
Yeah.
dreams?
I think first I would understand the type of trip that I want to go on. And that being said, like, so if you always wanted to go to like whatever location, but you wanted to go there because of the beach or something, you don't necessarily have to go to blah, blah, blah because of the beach. You could go to a cheaper destination and still get the beach. So that's like the first thing I would look at is like the actual like why are you trying to go out to some place, and then like can you scale it back a little bit? And then I would just start looking at how you save for something like that. Like you make it more intentional, right? You don't say like I'm cutting here and here and here because I'm sacrificing so much for this vacation. It's like I get to save up for this vacation and like enjoy all these things in the middle, right? Because life is still supposed to be enjoyable. And then you get to go like reward yourself with that vacation, I think is really nice. And then there's a lot of different ways to hack things. So, like understanding where you can hack, like in terms of flights, maybe you use Going, or maybe you use Google Flights, or maybe you use reward points, or 10x travel, or all sorts of different things that you can use
Or go on a
Travelzoo.
random day of the week, like go on a
Yeah,
Tuesday. Yeah.
go search the shoulder seasons.
Mm,
Know when the better times to go are, like when it's just going to be cheaper but the weather is still good. So yeah, I mean that's those are all the things that I would do. But yeah, I definitely understand the why first, and then I would adjust the expensive level according to that, because that's what we
I think the
realized. Like,
why is so important.
yeah, because we realized we were like, what are we? So, like, my season of life right now, my daughter's 3 years old. What are we? I mean, what are we going to be doing? We're not backpacking anywhere. She wants to go to the beach, and we like the beach just fine. Like, let's go find a cheap beach destination. Easy.
Yeah.
And now I started doing
She's
that
not
with
going
food
to know
too.
the difference between
Yeah, she
which beach
doesn't
it is
care.
anyway,
Yeah,
whether it's the Mediterranean or a beach in Alabama or
she's going to
something.
get the sand no matter what. Yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
the same and all. That's why we did Costa Rica, and it was really cool, but she was like 11 months old, and it was really fun. But I mean, she was able to eat the sand there, and we just learned that like she just likes the beach. So then like the next trip we went on, it was a family trip to St. Simon's Island in Georgia. It was like a 5-hour drive or something, easy.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
way cheaper, way
Way
easier
cheaper.
logistically.
Didn't have to have
Yeah.
everyone's passports ready to go,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So,
No plane rides. I think though, going back to the why, especially these days with the power of Instagram, every travel destination almost seems fueled by some viral social media post
yeah.
that tells you go here, experience this hotel, go to this restaurant, look at this view, whatever. And I think
Yep.
we're forgetting that it's so much more than that one experience when you're
Yep.
going somewhere. And you could have your own set of experiences that are completely unique to you.
I completely agree. And that was so like college, looking through things, and I'm like, man, this beach looks beautiful. Where's that? Okay, it's over here in Croatia. Haven't been to Croatia yet, but it's gotten put on the back burner because the only reason I wanted to go there at the time was just the beach. But then I see another beautiful picture and it's Phuket, Thailand. Oh, we got to go there. So we go to Phuket. It's really hard to get to, number one. It was like, oh my gosh, we took like the shuttle to, like, we just took a shuttle. We didn't plan. Now I know like a lot of these areas, like when I say these areas, I basically mean like anytime I'm getting to an airport and it's not within the US and I know I can do Uber or whatever. Like I know you can do Grab and everything, but sometimes when you get off the flights, your data doesn't necessarily work right away.
Yeah.
So, which is fine, but I just don't like to be at the airport that long. So now I just schedule our pickups from the airport because when we got into Thailand, specifically when we flew to Phuket, we were trying to leave and we ended up on the shuttle. That was a scam. And so then we got taken to this other place. It was like a whole thing. We eventually get in. Phuket's really hot. The place that I booked was, it basically sounded like we were just on the street, like it was so loud and the bed was awful. And then we go to this beach, right? Because it's supposed to be amazing. We pass the wastewater lines and it's like the wastewater is just dumping out onto the, like into the beach area. And it's still pretty,
Mm.
but after you see like where everybody's waste is going, it's like I don't necessarily need to be in that water. And we traveled there purely because of the beach, just period. That was the only reason why we were there. And so that was like, so you got to start doing your research a little bit more.
Yeah, or maybe just don't assume that something is going to look like it is on pictures
Yeah.
because that's a big lesson for me. Is like I used to travel for XYZ monument or experience or museum or
Yeah. And
whatever.
it's
Every
all
time I would
hinging.
get there, yeah, exactly. And I was always underwhelmed or even
Mhm.
worse, like disappointed. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I just went out of my way, spent all year dreaming
Yeah.
about this moment, and finally get here, and I'm like, oh, I could have done something better with my
Yeah. Like what's
time, you
going
know?
on? We did that. So we went to Cedar Point a few years ago in Sandusky, Ohio. Shout out Cedar Point. But we went and we both found out that we actually can't really ride roller coasters very well anymore. We like gray out riding roller coasters. But
Ooh.
that's the whole freaking reason we were in Sandusky, Ohio, right? Is to like ride these roller coasters. Anyway, once we put that aside, we had some of the best conversations. The people were so nice, like outside of the theme park. I mean, not that they weren't nice in the theme park, but like once you just started enjoying the area instead of hinging the entire trip on this like theme park, we met really nice people. We had some really good food. We got to do like an ice cream tour thing and like it ended up being like a nice vacation. But if we had just hinged it on that Cedar Point thing, I mean, the story would have been we almost passed out multiple times on the
Yeah,
roller coaster.
exactly. That's so funny. I feel like, I mean, that's a good lesson though. It's like there's always a silver lining to an
There is.
experience. You can
Yeah.
always turn it around. It's not like that particular experience has to define the entire trip. And like the fact that you're able to like connect with people you never even met before and still like that's the memory that resonates with you. I think that's the most important part. Because I would say the same thing for me, even, you know, traveling through Europe most recently, there were certain things I was like really excited to witness.
Yeah.
But I
We
realized
all saw
like
the Instagram
once I
feed.
got there, yeah, but it's not even the thing I talk about. You know, I talk about like the giant spider in my room and me having to be in like a one-on-one war with this thing. And
Yeah.
you know, like, and that being able to conquer that fear was like, that in itself was like the monumental aspect of that trip.
The big turning point for Ashross.
Yeah, literally. I know, but like that's just like the power of travel is like you never know what to expect and like stop being so rigid in what you want the outcome to be and be more open to like what the experience is meant to be. Like, allow
Yeah.
it to just unfold the way it needs to.
Yeah, no, it's cool to just be like pleasantly surprised, right? And that's what now,
Yeah.
like my dad travels a lot now that he's retired. So I will ask him, like, what was the most surprising thing about the trip? And like the thing that you didn't know that you would like as much as you did. And so I always like to hear that because it's always something, we go there for the blah, blah, blah. But what we really liked, like, we went to an all-inclusive resort in Cancun. I've never done that before, which I'm in the era of my life where I'm okay with that now. Like I
Yeah.
like it. And because my most favorite part was I could go to the coffee shop. I didn't have to pay money for the coffee I liked. My daughter and I got to have whatever pastries we felt like, and then we went and sat on the beach. And I was perfectly
Yeah.
like I didn't think that would be my most favorite experience out of the whole thing, but it was, and I could do it like over and over again the whole trip. Like I was able to do that, and it was like super nice. So wouldn't have
Yeah, and you went
expected that.
with an open mind about what being at a resort could feel like, because I know there's a lot of like preconceived notions about traveling to a resort and like feeling maybe shut off from the world, or maybe I've heard of people having like food poisoning stories at resorts
Okay,
or
yeah, that's
bed
exciting.
bugs.
Yeah.
You know, these are the kinds of stories, but like it's not the
Food
majority.
poisoning, you can get it anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
We have learned it will come for you at some
Yeah,
point during the trip. Yeah. Yeah.
to some extent, there's like nothing you can do, just
There's
surrender to
yeah, it's
it.
the Golden Corral to, street food in Thailand. Like it's gonna come
Yeah,
for you. Yeah.
yeah, especially street food, as good and tempting as it is.
Just I want it hot. That's it's just me over here just pointing like get it, just give me the hot food.
Yeah, yeah, burn off all the
I want
viruses.
the best chance of me not feeling this later
Yeah,
as
yeah,
possible.
exactly. Make sure it's as dry as possible. No liquid, no
Yeah,
wetness
I
on
want to
it
see
at
any pink.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, nothing. That's so funny. I feel like
Yeah.
you should create a whole blog on just all your travel money hacks, just for anybody at any level, because you have taught me a lot about like different websites for maxing out my credit card rewards and stuff, because the credit cards themselves are not going to give you all the input. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you
that
gotta
alone
get
is really helpful.
yeah, no, that is the 10x free course is like probably the most helpful thing if somebody's really interested in doing credit card hacks. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, share that link with me. I'll make sure to add it to the description.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
10x looking out for you.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that's great. I started doing Travel Zoo now for like because now I'm in the like don't want to plan as much kind of time of
Hmm.
my life, and man, that's been great. We really nice resort for like 40% off. So I don't
Amazing.
know. What are you gonna
Worth
do?
it.
Can't get upset.
Yeah, yeah. I think when you take the time to look for it, you will find it. And I think some people are just quick to jump to booking the first flight they see at,
Yeah.
whatever
Well, and
destination.
the other thing that I forget too, so I was reminded of this because I was on, I don't know what flight I was on an international flight, but I was sitting next to a guy from Germany and I was telling him like where I was from. And he's like, "Don't you just love living in America?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's great, but you also don't want to come off like I mean, I come off American anyway, it doesn't really matter, but not like abrasive American." And he's like, "You have so many different options in America. Like you can go to the mountains, you can go to the beach, you can go to just farms." And I was like, you're right. We don't have just one. Like, so even if somebody is feeling overwhelmed of like, I've got to have this crazy travel abroad, just travel to like one time zone over. You're going to get like a different perspective. You're going to get a different view of a lot of different
Exactly.
things. Life
Exactly,
starts
especially if
small.
you're a solo traveler and you're very intimidated by being alone, period. Like just
Yeah.
go to the next town over and spend a day there by yourself. Like even that is already taking a step in that level direction of like independence and
Yeah.
self-sufficiency.
I've started challenging myself now. Like when I go travel and I'm like, I don't want to do like I travel for work and I don't want to do like anything super crazy. I challenge myself to go find a Thai restaurant, and I'm like a blooming reviewer now on Yelp for Thai restaurants. Yeah, pretty exciting stuff. That's how I'm
That's your
recognized
new
now.
niche.
On
That's
yeah,
awesome.
and that's just what I do. So like even if I'm like not really willing, it forces me to get out, usually forces me to walk somewhere. And I went to Chicago for a work trip, and I went out to this like really, it was such a cute Thai place, but that's where I learned like the homeless people there were super friendly. Like everybody was friendly, but I'm just saying like I was not expecting to feel safe walking by myself in the dark
Mm,
in Chicago, and like everybody was so kind, and I wouldn't have had that experience if I didn't have the driving force of like I've got to keep my Thai Yelp reviews up.
yeah.
So you're welcome, everybody, if that's what
Yeah.
you're looking
We need a
for.
list of all your favorite Thai places too, because now I'm super curious. And I want to take you to my favorite Thai place in LA and see how that compares
Good. It's gonna burn
because
my face off. I already can tell. I
it's
know.
just, it's so good. Their book is like, you can't even read it. It's all Thai, basically, the
Good.
menu. Like, yeah,
That's what I
I
like
don't recognize
most.
half the things on it. Yeah. Yeah. It's just
Yeah, you're
purely
like, I think I'm gonna
authentic.
go for this. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'll have to
Yeah.
stop by, go get
Well,
some
thank
Thai
you so
food.
much for sharing your wisdom, especially with money hacks. I know like you have so much more to share with anything related to money, but I encourage everybody to go check out Making Sense Consulting as well and see how their financial wellness services can help you and help you achieve your travel goals.
Yeah, travel, personal, we'll get to the values.